Well, now something's coming on too strong, and I just can't seem to get along. I always try to write a song, but sometimes the words ain't coming out right. Just my niece has left tonight. But as long as I've got a pipe, let's go.
Alright, we're good.
Oh, the music's done? Okay, good.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of You Can't Brew That on Television. We can't brew that? Can you? I totally screwed up my intro. Hello, Internet, and welcome to another exciting episode of You Can't Brew That on Television. We are your hosts. I am the Reverend Ryan Bono.
And I am Kyle Lawless LaPointe.
And the music that you just heard, if you're watching the podcast, was brought to us by the Bastard Sons. And we are all here to help you bridge the gap between Beer Snob and Frat Boy. Kyle, this is the last episode of the year, maybe ever. The world's going to end in a few days.
That's true.
What are we going to talk about tonight?
Well,
There's a lot of pressure riding on the show.
You know, and I think that that's important to discuss because we're going to talk about what we're going to drink for the next few days before we die.
Choose your beers wisely because they're all you're going to get.
Mm-hmm. Now we're also going to talk some about the Brewing Bowl,
which will never happen, but we're gonna plan for it anyway,
right?
Just in case.
You've got to go on with your routine, despite these tragedies in the near future. So, yeah, we're going to discuss the potential Brewing Bowl recipe for a year that may never happen,
and we're going to talk about the Cotton Bowl.
We're going to talk about the Cotton Bowl.
Talk about the Cotton Bowl because Rich isn't here to keep us on track, so we're going to talk about whatever we want, and we want to talk about football. So that'll teach you, Rich.
So we're broadcasting here from our own little studio. We're not doing our Skype chat through to Rich, who would broadcast it out to the world. So, you know, we're kind of chilling and relaxing out here. It's a gorgeous night, and
it really is.
We have...
Global warming has been very good to us.
It's been very nice this year. November was
60s
gorgeous.
and 70s. Yeah, I mean, it's been just spectacular weather in here.
But, you know, that makes me wonder exactly what's going to happen for Brewing Bowl. You know, and I think,
gosh, I have a feeling Brewing Bowl has some real cold potential. So we'll find out here before long, I think.
So I think that's something we need to discuss and talk about tonight. What do you think about setting up Brewing Bowl for a potential 5-gallon or a potential 10-gallon recipe?
I think we should go 10-gallon.
Well, what I'm saying is if it's good weather, 10-gallon outside. If it's bad weather, 5 gallons inside. Because 10 gallons inside is kind of a beating.
I don't know, man. We've gotten kind of weak in our old age. I think that we need to force ourselves to brew outside even in lousy weather.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
There it is. We've got a little 10 by 10 fold-up tent that the last time we brewed in the cold in the winter, and I just
took really good care of us.
I neglected to think about that square tent being in my garage. I didn't not think about the outside umbrella. We got that over there, and it was great until it was completely saturated.
Right. Golly, that was so brutal.
That was a miserable brew day, but it was fun.
Let's talk about our beer that
we're
going to be making at the Brewing Bowl. Because last week, Sergio was on, and we all decided to make an English Pale Ale, which is also known as bitter.
Right.
And I want to talk a little bit about the style itself, and then we're going to come up with a recipe. So English bitter. First, we've let you guys down. We haven't even talked about what we're drinking.
I figured we could open up another top, because we actually cheated. We started drinking this beforehand.
Yeah, we did start. I think that's a big part of why we forgot, is that we did start drinking this beforehand. What are we drinking right now?
We are drinking Buffalo Bill's Brewery Blueberry Oatmeal Stout.
Blueberry Oatmeal Stout. They bill it as a winter warmer, which can mean, just about any style. There are lots of different styles that are known as winter warmers.
Right.
Generally, it's going to be something high alcohol, something big, and this tastes like it's got the alcohol in it for sure. I didn't see an ABV on it, but
no, it tastes, to me, it's like right there at the high end of a stout.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to knock you over, but.
But no, it's pretty good. 7.5% alcohol. Yeah, it'll knock us over.
I mean,
it's not too bad though. I mean, it's got the bite of the alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rich is the guy that introduced me to my first blueberry beer.
Okay.
And I'm just shocked at how many times that I've had blueberry beers and actually like them. You know, it seems like such a stupid thing and such a gimmick, but it's freaking good.
I think blueberry works itself into beer quite nicely, and I think it's because it's not overly sweet.
Right.
You know, like you...
It's got that acid...
You try to make beer with like, oh gosh, peaches, you know, those breweries that use peaches and apricots, and it just goes really poorly.
The only apricot beer that I've ever absolutely loved was when Cantillon stuck it in one of their goos.
Oh yeah, see, I
man.
can see that because those are complementary flavors.
Yeah, exactly. The sour and the tart together, it's just like, oh man, just get you like a pickle in the back of the
I can
throat.
see that, but certain breweries try to put them in ales, and it just doesn't go very well. But the blueberry just isn't that sweet of a fruit, and so it ends up working really nicely in beer. Especially a big, heavy one like this.
I think this is a pretty good complementary flavor. I don't hate this beer. I mean, it's not going to win any awards for the base style.
But I think this has kind of like a twinge to it, almost like it's an extract brew or something.
I wonder if it's I'm thinking it's probably the blueberry flavoring.
It could be something in the blueberry flavoring.
And it's probably not real blueberries.
Well, it claims it. Well, natural flavoring. Right?
It says it has natural flavoring, which if you ever look up any recipe or any ingredients on anything in the world, natural flavor means shit they made in a lab that they don't have to tell you what it is. But they call it natural flavors. It's great. I love advertising. So I think that's what this is, some sort of a blueberry extract. But it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain.
I'm not going to complain. So bitter. Let's get back to talking about bitter. I tell you that I'm making a bitter. You don't know a whole lot about beer. What's your first thought?
You know, I think a lot of people are going to think like an IPA. They're going to go, oh my goodness, it's really bitter in the back notes.
And technically, given the history of bitter, English IPA would have been known as bitter. But now, today, with the BJCP and style guidelines, those two styles have sort of been separated a little bit. But the name bitter came about as a way to separate the more bitter style of beer from the sweeter style of beer that you would have gotten in an English pub, which would have been mild.
A mild, yeah.
So you, as a patron at a British pub, you walk in and you're going to be drinking all night probably because you're British and that's what you do.
Right.
And so
you don't drink out of these measly little 16-ounce glasses that only get 14.
Yeah, I mean you're getting gigantic amounts of beer. And so you're going to be drinking a low alcohol beer, and you have two choices. You can get the mild or the bitter.
Yeah. And
that's all there is to it, really. It's a really simple thing, but bitter is not very bitter. I would call it crisp.
Yeah.
I think
that's exactly right.
Like mild has a very sweet, like a very, very light flavor to it.
For those of you who are around for our other Brew and Bowls, I guess we're finally going back to something in the middle.
Yeah, that's right.
Because
it's been a while.
The first time we did a dry stout will have a lot more hops, a lot more bitterness than this bitter will.
Yeah.
That range generally goes up to about 50% higher range than what an English bitter would. Now the strong Scotch that we did the following year has like next to no bitterness.
Yeah, I mean that is just all that's like candy, especially compared to that dry stout.
Then we went back to the other end of the spectrum and hit the German Alt.
Yeah.
And that beer was great. I really
that was a
of all the ones we've done. I mean, the dry stout and the Alt have been great. I really I've liked all the Brew and Bowls. I think we've done a good job with these. It's fun to help brew it with you guys. And everybody has their input on the recipes, and I think that's what helps make it good.
This burning missive in from the chat room, my mom says hello. Hello, Mom. Love you.
So, we end up brewing a style of beer now that is somewhat in the middle.
This is kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And
a drinking beer.
This is, when you think of English beer, this is what you think of, is bitter. And it's what I think of, at least. And when I was in the British Isles here a few months ago, I noticed that they've become really big over there on what they refer to as real ales. And we would call them cask conditioned. But to them, a real ale isn't just cask conditioned, it's also served out of a beer engine. Mm-hmm. what do you think the odds are that we could get a beer engine? I'd like to make a real ale.
And we could get a beer engine?
Yeah, get a beer engine, like a pump, and actually...
They're around. People found them. Matt Robinson just got one.
Did he really?
But it was an uncle of his or a relative lived in England, found it at a flea market, bought it, sent it back.
Let's look into this, because I really want to make some real ales, and I think
they're not cheap, and they usually have to be completely rebuilt.
Oh, okay.
And the problem with them is connecting them, getting them ready to go, you're still going to have a beer that once you tap it,
it's going to go bad really quick.
You got 2 days.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's pulling in air, and so people that they actually just had a message board topic on this on the capandhair.com web forum, and just somebody was asking. It was Matt Robinson asking about his new beer engine, what he does, and people started discussing and saying, it's one of those bummers of a thing that we package most of our homebrew in 5-gallon kegs because it's very difficult to serve 5 gallons of that kind of beer.
It's essentially, if you're going to do a real ale, you're going to have to bring it to a club event or the Blue Bonnet or
the Christmas party.
Or the Christmas party, exactly.
Where we just floated 4.5 gallons of one of our better beers that we've made in a long time.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
It was fun. That's cool. And everybody was talking about their favorite beers up there, and it was constantly referred to as one of the favorites over there, which is cool. That's I think why you and I brew more than competitions. We would rather bring that beer to other people.
I brought 20 gallons of my beer up to my work on Friday and shared it with my coworkers and clients and other consultants, and that's why we do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Bono and I have always been the same way. First and foremost, we brew beer for ourselves and for others. Ourselves first. I'm glad you threw that out. We don't want to sound completely selfless. I didn't want to say that about you, but for me, I brew for me.
I brew for me.
And then number 2, I brew for you. And then, number 3, I brew for competitions. Recognition is always cool.
Recognition is nice.
It helps you. But
Kimball wants to come work with me. I'll see what I can do about getting you a job, buddy.
So it's great over there. Bono brings beer on Fridays. They've got the mead guy who brings meads on Thursdays. Wine on Wednesday.
Actually, we did have one of the I believe it was the director of the water department, City of Fort Worth, did bring over a big bottle of mead.
Really?
Yeah, and it was actually really good.
Who brought the moonshine?
Who brought the moonshine?
Just watched the movie Lawless. That's why my nickname was Lawless. I got a real kick out of Shia LaBeouf finally playing a character that was like his type of a character instead of superhero.
I don't know who that is. So.
Shia LaBeouf, the Transformers guy. Those are awesome movies.
That's why I don't know who Shia LaBeouf is.
He is Indiana Jones 2. You remember the last Indiana Jones guy?
No.
Or did you not see the last one where they tried to...
I don't watch many movies. I don't know if you know that or not.
Okay, I watch a lot of movies.
So I don't know who Shia LaBeouf is.
But he's a little twerpy kid, and he's somehow become an action hero.
Oh, like that British guy, the transporter.
Well, but at least Statham is like
Statham.
big.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, dude's
he's never looked that to me.
He's one of those Sly Stallone type bigs.
Okay.
Just muscly, probably not too tall.
Cably.
But just nice and got a big muscle tone to him. You wouldn't want to get punched in the jaw. But yeah, Shia LaBeouf, you would laugh if he punched you in the jaw.
Oh, cool.
So he's kind of a puss in this movie, which I liked. I thought that was funny.
Sounds like him then.
Sorry, we got sidetracked.
We got sidetracked. Let's talk about bitter. This beer, bitters are typically not going to have a whole lot of well-modified malts. We're going to use a lot of base malt in this, a little bit of caramel, if any, and we're going to get a lot of coloring through kettle caramelization. And that's something that we do a lot of at Dogleg Brewery. We do a lot of kettle carm. So that's where the color in the beer is going to be coming from. We're going to be using, we talked about the bittering hops, where it means a lot of bittering hops. They're almost all of our hops are going to be right at the beginning of the boil. And then we might use a little bit of flavor and a little bit of aroma, but nothing overpowering for sure.
And I think in a lot of the bitters, you're allowed to use some of that toasted and biscuit malt.
You're allowed, yeah.
And, that's something I'd probably want to throw in there, a little bit of that Victory.
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. I like both of those. And those are typically flavors that are consistent with the brown ales
Right.
the English brown ales, but I don't think that they're unacceptable in
Let's
bitter.
see.
They're just not typical.
BJCP says the ingredients are pale ale, amber or crystal malts, maybe a touch of black malt for color. So no, it really doesn't mention much of that. You're right. It's generally you're going to get into the browns when you start adding the toasted. So we're going to eliminate the toasted.
Yeah,
we want to make sure this goes to style. So
I mean, I think this is going to be really similar to
this style
like
before,
a.
have we?
No, we haven't.
You brewed it at a Big Brew.
Yeah, I brewed it at a Big Brew,
I
and
brewed
we
with
only
somebody
used
else.
base malt at the Big Brew. We didn't use any modified malt at all.
There you go. And, that's something we can easily do. Like what we did. I was explaining to everybody what happened for what we called the Caramel California Common. And it was
such a weird beer.
It was a weird beer. We threw this recipe together.
That was a big hit at my work Friday, by the way.
Yeah, it was huge at the Christmas party. Everybody really liked it. It's something we're going to brew again. And we flat out
definitely.
We used a base recipe from our one of our beers that's always a crowd favorite.
Yeah, the wheat,
the queso wheat, and which is also the same base recipe.
It's just our wheat beer, basically.
Right. So we used a base recipe for that, but then we added some chocolate wheat and some
chocolate wheat. We added
heavy caramel too, right?
Some heavy caramel, and we added some carafa.
A little carafa to get it some, because we wanted it to be a darker beer than what we ended up with. So that's the way we ended up rolling. For everybody who didn't just hear the door open, I got my baby and my wife just came in. Our little baby girl is not feeling so well today, so she may want to join us. You want to get on camera, Charlotte?
You want to come on TV, Charlotte?
You want to say hi?
No.
Say hi to the world?
All right.
You say hi to
She's going to say hi to me, and I will say hi to you for her.
But
so
it was a fun recipe to design.
It was a really fun recipe. So
and for giggles, we just threw in one type of hop, which was the Northern Brewer hop.
It was a really neat hop, very unusual.
So yeah, it's only used in it's used in several styles, but it's only primarily known for in one style, which is California Common. So when we did that, we basically turned the beer into a California Common. We had to when it's that prevalent, because we used it 3 different times in the recipe. It was good. It was really tasty.
Yeah, it was really fantastic beer. So I'm going to go ahead and pop open this next beer, and I'm going to let Kyle finish his.
Okay.
While I introduce our next segment, and that is our Beers of the Apocalypse. Guys, the world's ending in 3 days.
Did you know that, Megan?
World's ending in 3 days,
It's over.
Megan. It's all going to be done. So you only have 3 days to drink beer. And this next segment, we're going to discuss what beers we want to drink during our last few days on the planet.
I think that's an easy thing for me in a couple of realms, and it's a tough thing for me in a couple of realms.
For me, the hard part is not just saying that I'm going to have J.W. Lee's Vintage Harvest Ale every day and just have a different flavor of it.
Sure.
So, because that's what I really want to do. But I'm gonna have save my J.W. Lee's Vintage Harvest Ale for Friday.
Well, here's what I think about this whole situation. I'm really mad. Who do I talk to? Is there somebody I can talk to? The Mayans? Do I call them up? And I'm mad that they're setting this thing up on a weekday.
I think Felipe Colorado knows them.
Does he? Okay,
Yeah.
Well, I'll give that guy a call, because, I would like, if we've got 3 more days to live, then, I would prefer that to be on a weekend. Then this next coming weekend is a holiday weekend, so I'll be off a couple of extra days. Then I could have just drank the entire time. But now I'm limited because I'm only going to be drinking in the afternoon and evening. Probably not even that early in the afternoon.
As inconsiderate as the Mayans were, I think we're just going to have to accept it.
But, yeah. All right, so first thing I'm going to start with...
All right, so tomorrow's Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Day 3 leading up to the apocalypse.
We got a lot of time.
Got plenty of time. What beer are you drinking tomorrow?
I'll pop the top on a big, frothy Guinness.
That's what I was going to do.
Cheers.
Nice. Great minds,
All
everyone.
Right. So we're going to have some Guinness.
An absolute classic beer, by the way. One of the best-selling beers in the world. And the only of the best-selling beers in the world that I find palatable.
Yeah, that's true. And there are a couple that are decent, the rest of the world. And like they say, some of the areas have different brewing techniques to create those beers.
Yeah.
Heineken is going to be better overseas. It's not much better. But, and like you found out when you went to Ireland, how much different.
Yeah, I found out that I had been full of it all this time.
which is, it's basically the water. I mean, in most cases, you can
it might be the water. It's a different recipe, too. I digress. Guinness is a classic beer, and that's something that both of us want to make sure that we get to drink.
So what are we drinking
before
now?
The world ends.
Would this be something that we would drink before the world ended?
I'm going to go with no, Scott. This is... And I bought this because of our conversation last week. Everyone, this is a Sam Adams White Christmas. It is a Belgian white ale brewed with Christmas spices. And it is not a very enjoyable beer, I don't think.
You know what I like about it is that we only poured one glass between the two of us. So it's much easier to drink 6 ounces of this beer than I think it would be to drink 12 ounces.
Yeah, I will give you that. I'm glad. I'm
not
gonna
much
leave
of a
the
nutmeg fan.
No,
and I can. That's like big time nutmeg.
Yeah, the nutmeg's really coming out of this, and this provides a really good continuation for our discussion last week about Sam Adams.
Yeah.
Because up until now, I haven't had one of their seasonals that I didn't love, and I don't.
You got it.
I don't like that one. So.
No,
yeah.
sir, I don't like it.
So Thursday, neither of us will be drinking the Sam Adams White Christmas, but what will you be drinking?
I'm going to move up into the world and say, okay, now I got to start getting into some sour beers.
Okay.
I think
this is where we're going to diverge pretty sharply,
right.
I think.
But I may save the sours all for the last day because it can give you heartburn.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want heartburn going into your last day.
Right. I mean, so
you want heartburn after
you're dead. After would be much easier. So I'm gonna go back on that and back up and say, okay, well, let's go. I still want to go with something that I love. And something of the Belgian variety, maybe I'll go rock the shops and see if I can find some of the St. Bernardus Abbey 8. I mean, the Abbey 12 is great.
Yeah, Abbey 12 is great, but yeah, I mean, 8 is going to be a really nice beer.
It's a double. It's freaking good. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, and there's been several. I had to buy like a gift pack of it before when I actually got that in there, and it was. I think there were 4 different beers or 5 different beers in there, and you got to try them all. And there was their wit, and then there was their double, and their 10, and then the golden, and there were several beers in there. They were all great, but that 8, for what it was for a double, was the best double I've ever had. It's amazing. So I would love to find some of that. And
awesome.
I think it's available here at the right times if you can find the right shop. So I'm going to say I want to go with that. Get some St. Bernardus.
I'm gonna stay English. And I'm having a hard time picking here. I think I'm just gonna have to go with one. I'm gonna have a Hobgoblin.
There you go.
Because would you call it a pale? I think I would call it a bitter rather than a brown. But it's got some aspects of both.
Yeah, it's bigger than a bitter.
Yeah. And
not quite as brown as a brown. So I'm not sure exactly what...
But it's English, and it's beer, and it's delicious.
It's a great beer.
Just loaded with caramel and nutty flavors, and just fantastic stuff. Really, it's one of the beers that you think of when you think of the English brewing tradition. Is the Witchwood Hobgoblin. And when I was over
Fuller's London Pride, out there too.
When I was over there recently, I was actually fortunate enough to have a Witchwood King Goblin, which is a real ale version of Hobgoblin, and that was unbelievable.
Really?
That was a religious experience for me. It was amazing.
I like it.
All right,
English beers, that's one of Bono's things. He likes to stay European.
I'm very European, I mean, I'm not continental like you people.
Right. He likes the Great Britain and the not so great Ireland, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. Only it's the other way around. You've got it reversed.
All right,
so Friday, the world's ending. My last beer before I go on to the great beyond. I'm gonna have a threefer. I'm just gonna dip in my cellar.
Okay.
Charlotte is helping me clap. She's very excited about the end of the world. And I'm going to dip into the cellar, and I'm going to bust out my J.W. Lee's Harvest Ale.
Yum.
I'm going to have the port cask. I'm going to have the Lagavulin cask. And then I'm going to have some more of the port cask. And then I'll probably have some more of the Lagavulin cask. and then I'll probably mix them both together and have them both at the same time. Because the world's ending, might as well go for broke.
I like it.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm a big fan of Harvest Ale. It's my favorite beer, hands down. And those cask conditioned varieties they just really do it for me. So,
and I'm lucky enough that the way everything worked out at the Cap and Hare Christmas party, I still have a bottle of Cantillon Goose, a 2009 Cantillon Goose.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
That's what I'm ending on. I got a couple more sours around here. I've got some of the Jolly Pumpkin. I've got a fly on my face, which is, I have noticed a lot more flies lately. So maybe the world is coming to an end. They're all just going to come and hang out with us. And
yeah, the Mayans wrote Lord of the Flies, didn't they?
I think so.
I think it was Lord Maya himself that authored that book. All right, the show is getting silly. So we'd better start wrapping up. But before we go, we have some very important football talk.
We do.
I think we're gonna get into this a little bit more on Brew and Bowl because the game will still be several days away.
And let's before we get going too much further into this, we need to talk about Brew and Bowl because all of you are invited.
Everybody's invited.
Who wants to join us? We'll send out a more public invitation later via Facebook and some other spots, but we will be doing our Brew and Bowl celebration once again here live at Dogleg, and we'll put together a bunch of food. We're going to brew a beer. We usually start really early so that if we start, we can get going. We can finish that up. We want to wrap it up by about 11:30 when the first games start. This year we're brewing an English beer. We discussed it. Should we do some good English food?
I think that goes without question. Full English breakfast.
I think I'm going to get with the wife and try to figure out if she can help me figure out how to cook some of these
bangers
and mash, man.
Fried eggs.
We can do that. You're speaking her language now. We got fried eggs from chickens right back there. So that's a cool thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be a whole event. It's great every year. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun every year, and we hope you'll make it. If you're not in the area, you can't make it out. It's about to be the year 2013, guys. You can video yourselves tipping back whatever beer you love on New Year's Eve or this Friday for the apocalypse. Video yourselves, send it in. We'll broadcast it during the day at some point.
Because, we're going to be broadcasting the whole time. I love that idea. Send a video, and we'll play it during the show.
During the boil, we've got to fill that time with something. So video yourselves, send it in. We'll play that video, and Charlotte will clap. She hasn't stopped clapping for a while yet. So,
as is tradition, Oklahoma will be playing in the Cotton Bowl, which is traditionally on the New Year's Day, and traditionally will not be played on New Year's Day.
We love tradition, and you know who else loves tradition? The fightless Texas Aggies.
The fightless Texas Aggies. They do love themselves some tradition.
And that is Oklahoma's esteemed opponent in the upcoming bowl this year.
OU versus A&M.
Let's talk a little bit about that because A&M is lining a Heisman winner up under center.
They are. That will be the third Heisman or fourth Heisman candidate. I'm trying to think of how many Heisman winners we have played in bowl games. We played
Winky.
We played Stinky Winky.
That Leinart character, or was
Leinart.
it Bush?
I think it was Leinart that year, and then Bush the next year.
Did Jamarcus?
Jamarcus Russell was a
Jamarcus, so that's 3.
Yeah, that's 3.
So this is the fourth Heisman winner we played. The first one fell flat on his face.
We kicked their butt.
The second one embarrassed us.
Yeah,
no. The second one did all right. That was Jamarcus. The third one embarrassed us thoroughly.
We were at that game together. If there was instant replay, that was a different game because there was a touchdown in the back of that end zone. That was a touchdown.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that was a good game.
What you're going to say is that's a good game. We did, call that what it is. We lost, but not by much.
The last time we faced a Heisman winner, he embarrassed us.
He whooped the
actually, no. Tebow did not win it the year we played him. Tebow won it the year before. Bradford won it the year that we played.
Bradford won it the year.
Yeah, so there were actually 2 Heisman winners on the field that night. That's kind of unusual.
And
so what do you think about? What do you think? And we'll get into this a little bit more in depth on January 1st. So this is just like gut reaction. What do you think of this matchup?
Gut reaction tells me it's going to be close. I did a bunch of research, looked at the stats, looked at the teams, who the teams had played, what, vision, all that stuff, like I normally do. And if they're playing last weekend, like directly following the season,
A&M gonna walk.
You think A&M wins? I think Oklahoma wins by 21 if they play last weekend.
See, I disagree. I think that the A&M, if there's one thing we know...
This is good.
Yes, this is very good. Let's talk about this before I begin expounding on my views of offense and bowl games.
This is Alaskan winter ale. They brew it with spruce tips.
Yeah, with spruce tips, which is kind of an interesting thing to put in beer. And we like putting cool stuff in beer, so I picked this up at the gas station because my usual beer store I found out when it closed on me. I don't know what that was.
Which gas station was it?
The one up here on 10, just east of Hanley Eaterville.
Okay, yeah, that's a good beer store.
Right next to the
They got a lot of beers there.
Yeah, it's a good beer store.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as good as the Majestic, but it's good.
It's great for the fact that I can walk there.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Beer.
My boss has told me several times how much he had this when he went to Alaska last year, and he's talked about it, and he loved it, and we couldn't get Alaskan beers here. So something like their seasonals, I mean, come on.
We can't even get They managed to get distributed in Texas this year, and I've been really, really pleased with it.
That drink, Charlotte said.
So, if there's one thing that we know by watching football over the last few years, it is that high-powered offenses, these tricky, like weird timing-based offenses, suffer tremendously during the layoff.
I agree. No, I agree. And maybe we were discussing something different.
You look at Oregon, when they played Auburn, they did not look like themselves.
Right.
Until the second half, they started getting it back, and they started making that comeback, and it was too little too late. You look at every bowl game Mike Leach ever played in.
Yep. Always looked flat. Yeah, some of them he won, some of them he lost.
Yeah, when he played him earlier in the season, he looked pretty good. But you look at when he went to the Cotton Bowl, he couldn't. He threw his quarterback threw for like 50 yards or something. It was pathetic. And A&M has one of these tricky timing-based offenses that will suffer when their players sit around watching movies and playing PlayStation for 40 days.
Oh, I agree with that. And I think that a lot of people don't understand how good that Oklahoma defense is. It got basically demolished for 3 of the last 4 weeks of the season. And that's when Oklahoma was more in the spotlight than a lot of times of the year. So, it was like, okay, well, now everybody's watching Oklahoma because really they want Oklahoma to lose so that there's no chance that they can win the Big 12 and yada yada. Yeah. So there's a lot of people watching, and then the defense was really getting burnt. But the game was what the game was, and sometimes you get into a ball game where you want to run the ball. Look at TCU. That was a coach's decision on both parts to play a conservative game plan.
My dad brings up a good point that the fact. The issue with timing-based offenses suffering during the layoff is going to be exacerbated by the fact that it's being run by a freshman, a 19-year-old kid that nobody recruited, nobody wanted.
Yeah.
We're going to find out if he's really that good or if he just feasted on SEC defenses that are wildly overblown.
Overzealous, too. A lot of things that the SEC defenses do that they don't do in the Big 12 is they rush the quarterback.
Yeah.
They rush the quarterback because and this is what I was looking at when I did my research. Like I said, if Oklahoma played this weekend or last weekend instead of playing 2 weekends now, I think that their gimmicky offense does not work nearly as well against us because I looked at their offensive numbers and they're playing against the defenses they played against, and the defenses, how many times did they play running quarterbacks? And I compared that to us. We've played 3 running quarterbacks that are better than Manziel.
Yeah, they could run way better than Manziel.
And we've played 3 running quarterbacks who can throw at least as well as Manziel.
Klein.
And we played Klein. We
played
the
TCU kid, Boykin.
Boykin, I put on par. With him. So the 3 that I have above him are I've got Colin Klein, then I've got Geno Smith.
Oh, yes, Geno Smith.
Definitely.
Excellent call.
And
I forgot that guy existed.
I left Texas out of all of my considerations because I didn't feel like that was fair.
You're right. That isn't fair.
That was one of those. They played a lot better against everybody else than they did against us. Then above him, I also put the quarterback there for Baylor.
Oh yes, thank you.
So 3 quarterbacks.
C. Strong had a lot to do with Baylor's success as well.
Sure. So 3 quarterbacks rated above. Then we had some that are rated on par, which would be Boykin, would be every bit as good. That Iowa State quarterback, I'm forgetting his name right now. He's really
that kid's really solid.
He's a very solid quarterback. We played nothing but freaking running quarterbacks every week. SEC plays them once a year, which was the game against A&M.
Yep.
And the only game that A&M played against a strong offense was against Louisiana Tech,
Louisiana Tech. Yeah, that's the one. And Louisiana Tech rolled them.
They should have won that game.
They should have.
They put 50-plus points up against them. Our offense is better than that offense.
Dramatically,
At least, every bit as good.
And Landry plays pretty well in bowl games.
He does.
Say what you want about Landry during the season. He slips up, he messes up. But
the last half of this season though, he was stout.
Yeah,
he was very good.
So let's cut through all the BS and let's get people on their way home.
Final predictions.
Prediction. What is your prediction for the game?
I've got Oklahoma by 2 scores, but not necessarily 2 big scores. I don't have it Oklahoma by 14. I've got it Oklahoma by 10 or 8 or something, however the scores work out.
I've got Oklahoma by 10, but I'm going to be a little bit more specific.
Okay.
I think OU gets a 14 or even a 20-point lead in the first half.
I can see that happening.
And then in the second half, A&M's offense starts getting it together, starts figuring out OU's defensive schemes a little bit, and they make a little bit of a comeback, but OU holds them off. I think that the first half OU dominates, third quarter is a dogfight, and the fourth quarter is an A&M comeback bid that falls short.
I don't disagree with that. I can see that happening. So
Doyle rules.
I'm good with it. I'm going to say, like I said, I'm feeling somewhere.
My dad agrees with you.
Yeah.
So we'll see, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure as always.
It's been great. It's been fun to talk a little football.
It has.
No wonder Richard stops us. I think we spent 10 minutes talking about football.
That's all right. What did we learn tonight?
We learned that we're going to do the Brew Bowl with an English Pale Ale, and we're going to make English food. I'm excited about that.
And we also learned that when we make English food, we're going to get lousy English teeth.
Oh, that's really cool. But it doesn't matter because we're all going to be dead.
We learned that Sam Adams still sucks.
That's true. And we also learned that this Alaskan winter
is phenomenal.
I'm so glad we get Alaskan.
Yes. Very, very glad we get Alaskan here. Ladies and gentlemen, from Dogleg Brewery to your home, Merry Christmas. It's been a pleasure as always broadcasting to you. We will see you in the year 2013, if at all.
Merry Christmas.
There's one thing I've said, though I'm not known to be wise. When I hear someone crying out, lamenting, I just look them straight in the eyes and say,
oh God, that is awful.
Oh, you're not
or happy holidays.
The only one.
That's the way my Jewish godfather
came up from nothing, Lord, and you're not